Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me for another Batman review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 23, The Ring of Wax, and this episode, once again, has guest star Frank Gorshin as the Riddler. And this episode is pretty solid all the way around, as with most of the Riddler episodes. I would say the plot is decent enough, it moves along well, and Frank Gorshin is always really good in the role of the Riddler. So this one starts out in a museum. We're supposed to be getting a new figure of Batman, I guess, released to the public. And instead, when the woman giving the presentation opens the curtain, we get a Riddler statue instead, which I thought was a pretty nice way to start the episode. We also get his voice on a tape recorder, and he's giving out some new riddles for everyone to figure out. And for some reason, he also sprays the woman, the presentation lady, with some red substance. I guess just for added effect. I'm not really sure why. So after this opening, Batman and Robin head to the commissioner's office and they hear the riddles in a pretty brief scene, but it was effective enough. Then we go to the Riddler and his lair, which we always seem to get one or two of these scenes in the Riddler episodes, and I usually enjoy them because Frank Gorshin is really great in the role. And we're also introduced to his henchmen, who once again don't do a whole lot, and his henchwoman Moth. I did like her. One of the better female villains so far, I think. I thought she was pretty great. But the real highlight of this scene is basically just for Frank Gorshin to show his skills as the Riddler. And we also learn his plot at this point, that he's created some kind of wax solvent that can eat through anything. So that could be pretty useful for committing crime. So we go to the Gotham Library where the Riddler wants to steal an old book on some kind of Incan treasure, I believe it is. So he uses this wax substance he created to melt the lock, which is pretty convenient. So at this point, Batman and Robin arrive, and I have to say they haven't had a lot of screen time in this episode, maybe the least they've had so far, which is kind of interesting. But in the meantime, Moth is keeping a lookout for Batman and Robin, and she lets the Riddler know that they've arrived, as the Riddler was expecting them. And I did think it's funny that when Riddler was looking for the book, it was made pretty easy for him because there's a sign that says rare old books on the treasure of the Incas. They label a lot of things in this show, but I thought that was particularly a funny moment in the episode. So the Riddler gets the book, and of course Batman and Robin come, and we get our typical fight, which is fine. They're usually pretty entertaining. And the Riddler uses some kind of spray to get Batman and Robin stuck to the floor. I'm not sure how he has time to invent all these things, but it helps him get away. So eventually Batman, of course, frees himself and Robin, and after Batman does some detective work, he and Robin go back to the Wax Museum where the Riddler and his gang, including Moth, are dressed or like disguised as these wax figures, which actually works. And they get Batman and Robin basically tied up over some acid for our cliffhanger. So this was a solid episode, nothing overly spectacular, but there was nothing bad about the episode. It flowed well, and it had some funny and interesting moments. So overall, I give The Ring of Wax a 3 out of 5. And I do feel it sets up an even better part 2. So 3 out of 5 for The Ring of Wax. And always thank you very much for watching.